What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. Today it's watch list time for game weeks 20 to 23. Now, I haven't done a watch list video for quite a few weeks. I think it was back in game week 12. Not because I don't like doing them, but just because obviously when the game week turnarounds are quite short, I prioritise the other content that's a little bit more popular rather than looking at watch lists and stuff like that. But as I said on yesterday's video, once you hit the Game Week 20 deadline on Tuesday next week, the Game Week 23 one I think is only 12 days later. So there's not too much time to start thinking about which players to bring in, which transfers to do. So it's a good idea to have something in your head now about the players that you're at least monitoring over this period, even if you're not bringing them in Game Week 20. So I've got 4 sets of players to go through. Some of it is similar to what I did in the fixtures yesterday, but obviously because this is my team, it's about players that I want to bring in, that I may, obviously in the fixtures video, I may have already owned them, so there's no point in putting them on a watch list. But in this video, it's all about players that I don't already own, that I have got my eye on, and also in which game week I'm going to be looking to potentially bring them in. So if you enjoy it, please do give it a like, hit subscribe if you're new around here, and let's jump into it. So first up, we got Kane and Son, and I know this is a bit of a touchy subject with me because as soon as you sell Kane and Son, people talk to you like you're absolutely crazy, like they are the only players that can get points and you can't bring them back in. Well, guess what? They're on my watch list because at some point I am going to want to bring in at least one, maybe two. So you'll see that throughout this video. There's a couple of players for each team that I'm looking at, and obviously it's because of fixtures. Now, as it stands right now, I don't own Kane or Son. Now, my plan was never to own Kane or Son for game week 19. It looked a bit more dodgy to people because I had Kane and Son and then sold them both in 1 week. But had I not wildcarded, I would have only had Kane for game week 19 anyway, and I would have definitely sold him to get De Bruyne. So at no point were these two players in my game week 19 plans. But going forward, at some point I'm going to want to bring them back in. Now, looking at the fixtures over the next 4, Liverpool at home is tough, and Chelsea at home is also quite tough, although I do get that right now they may be in a little bit of a tough patch of games or results, and obviously chopping and changing things like Zuma coming out and stuff like that, missing Kante is not helping either. So the good thing is I can monitor over the next couple just to see how tough that Chelsea game is, but it's not usually a fixture that I'd want to bring players in for. That game was 0-0 in the reverse fixture. This is at home, so maybe it'll be a little bit different, but I can't imagine that Mourinho is going to go too much on the attack in that game or the Liverpool game. He's probably going to sit deeper. So the other fixtures to look at are Brighton away and West Brom at home. Now, you can look at this a couple of ways, right? In some ways, you're looking at it and saying, well, in the next 3 game weeks, they've got Liverpool and Chelsea, so I'll ignore them. But when you get to game week 21, it's like, well, they've got Brighton and West Brom in the next 3 game weeks. Maybe I'll look to get them in. As it stands right now, my plan is to get at least one of them for game week 23 because I've already looked at captains. And I might touch on this a bit more in my team selection video, but essentially I already know my game week 20, 21 and 22 captain, and at no point do I think that Kane or Son is the best pick that week. So even when they play Brighton away, in that same week Jamie Vardy has Leeds, and more importantly Kevin De Bruyne I think has Sheffield United at home, so he's currently where I'm looking. So I'm not really looking to captain Kane or Son. Therefore, they're not as high up the priority list. I don't think just because you're not captaining a player that you should worry about not. You shouldn't, just completely ignore them and think, well, it doesn't matter. Obviously, there's other points to be had, but I don't think they're a priority for my team, especially when they play Chelsea next. In Game Week 23, it's a different story because I do think they're the standout captain. And also, the game after, yes, it's Man City, but they're going to have a good double game week probably in Game Week 26. And I'm probably going to want to own one or both. Now, how I get to both is quite difficult. I would have to make a tough decision of getting rid of Fernandes, Salah or De Bruyne. And that is something that I don't want to decide right now because I need to see how the fixtures kind of turn. And we're not going to find out probably who's doubling in Game Week 26, at least not the majority, until just before Game Week 24. So I don't want to make too many decisions on Game Week 23. I need to get to a point where I'm rolling a transfer, and therefore I'll only bring one in, and Son is probably the easier one to get to, even though I think Harry Kane is probably slightly better option right now. Okay, he's playing exactly the same amount of minutes, he's on penalties, more shots in the box, etc. So Kane is the one I want, but Son is the easier one to get to. So that West Brom game is where I'm probably going to bring them in, but I will monitor them. I'll watch how they do against Liverpool. I'll see whether I've got any spare transfers for game week 21 and potentially bring them in there. But as it stands, these two are obviously on the watch list because I don't own them and they're so good. But also, I think Fernandes, Salah and De Bruyne are probably okay to hold. for game weeks 20 to 22. Then you have to make a tough decision. And if Man City have got more double game weeks to come, I can't get rid of De Bruyne, so it would have to be Salah or Fernandes to get both of these in. One of them would have to go, maybe even both of them. And that's a huge decision I don't want to make right now. A lot of people obviously saying that Salah's no good. But for me, I think he could quite easily come back in the next 3 games. All he's got to do is score against Burnley, and suddenly people forget about the blanks before that. So if he gets like 10 points plus, we're all very happy. Obviously, blanks again, he could get mass sold. But for me, he's staying just for now, at least for game weeks 21, 22, and then I'll see from 23 onwards. So for the watch list, they're definitely on it, but they're probably not going to get brought until game week 23. West Brom at home, captaining one of these players. I just don't know which one I'm bringing in yet. Okay, so Villa up next. Grealish and Watkins are on the watch list. I'm not really monitoring any other Villa players. I've already got Martinez in goal. I don't think a Villa double up is worthwhile with the fixtures they've got, and especially how good they can be attacking wise as well. And also the value that you get from Villa players. Next year, Watkins and Grealish are not going to be the price they are now. I'd expect Grealish to go up to 8.5, something like that. Maybe even 9, depending on what he finishes the season on. But before we get into next season, let's worry about game week 20 onwards. These 2 players, one, if not both, will probably be my transfer in this week, potentially even game week 21 as well. I might get both of them in. Without going into my kind of strategy too much, at some point I'm going to have to start rolling transfers because obviously I've already talked about Spurs, getting them in, but there's also a double game week to worry about. There may be a double game week for Leeds and Southampton if Southampton don't beat Arsenal in the FA Cup. And obviously I've got money on the bench that I probably need to get rid of as well. So I'm not in a position where I can keep making lots of luxury transfers, but I only got rid of Villa because I didn't think they were going to play twice in game week 19. I kind of hedged my bets a little bit when I sold Grealish, and I'd already sold Watkins because he didn't have a double game week at the time I sold him either. So if things had gone differently, maybe I'd own both these players, but I do think I want them both back eventually. They're obviously going to have double game weeks because they've already got matches to rearrange. How quickly that will happen, we don't know yet because they're not in Europe, so there's not necessarily as much of a rush for them to get them played sooner rather than later. Whereas for Man City, for example, there is. Obviously, no Villa defenders on the watch list. No El Ghazi either. I mean, really, he should be on the watch list. I should be monitoring him, and it's probably a little bit harsh he's not here because if he keeps starting, especially when Barkley's back, El Ghazi's on penalties. He's been good at them. His non-penalty XG is good too. He's obviously very cheap, and he could be an option. My only worry is that Barkley comes back in. That pushes Grealish back to the left. Traore maybe keeps starting on the right. They could play El Ghazi there instead, I suppose. But he could see more of his minutes managed and maybe not get into the first 11 so much. Obviously, with this, we've got to see what happens in Game Week 19. I'm recording this to put it out before the match against Man City. And obviously, they've got to play Newcastle at the weekend as well. So that's something to monitor. But these two probably coming in for me. I just think you look at the numbers so far this season, and they're really good for both players. Now, I know Watkins kind of frustrates people because his finishing maybe hasn't been good enough and he's missed a few clear-cut chances he should have put away. But his non-penalty XG so far is 0.5 and his expected assist is 0.11. So 0.61 expected goal involvement is really good. Right, 0.5 XG is decent for nearly any striker, let alone one that only costs like £6.1 million, right? And you can say that he's a bad finisher and etc. And maybe you could reduce that expected goals a little bit to like 0.45 to take into account his finishing. That's still really good. Right, and he is getting into the right position. His movement's really good. And I think when I think about cheap strikers right now, it's going to depend on what formation I play. If I stick to 3-4-3 instead of 3-5-2, then Antonio, Bamford and Watkins is the 3 I think I'm aiming towards. So whether I bring him in or not this week will depend on what happens for the rest of the week because I can afford to get Grealish in and I can also get Chris Wood out for Watkins. So I'll decide what to do. With Grealish, his numbers are incredible. Right, 0.23 expected goals, not that high, right? It's around, par with like Souček, Saka, etc. But he has 0.3 expected assists. He is putting balls on a plate for all of his teammates, right? Just such good chances that he's going with. And what's that? 0.66 expected goal involvement. That's one of the highest in the league so far this year. And his price is really good. So these two definitely on the watches. I think compared to a lot of the other players here, they're going to come in sooner rather than later. One of them I'm sure will come in for Game Week 20. I'm just not sure which one yet. But overall, I think I want both of them before kind of game week 22, 23, because I just think they're such good value and better than the players that I've already got. So a team can't go top of the league, right, have pretty good fixtures, have cheap players, and for me to think, nah, none of them should be on the watch list, right? So I've had to put a couple on. Justin and Barnes are the two. Now, I know right now a lot of people are loving James Maddison. I've seen a lot of people starting to put him in their teams to question me about whether he should be in. Obviously, a lot of people liked his interview as well after the game. I wonder if that's swaying opinion a little bit. My main issue with Maddison is his price is not that far off Grealish, and if I'm picking between the two, the fixtures would have to be extremely, extremely in Leicester's favour. Now, I'm not saying that Villa are a better team than Leicester, right? I think the league table would probably show you that, although obviously Villa have got quite a few games in hand. I think it's like they've only played 15 games, and a lot of teams have played 19 already. Now, arguably, these fixtures are a little bit better than Villa's, especially with Leeds at home, Fulham away in there. It's not a bad time to be playing Wolves away. But if you compare the numbers, right, I've just spoken about Grealish, 0.23 expected goals. For Maddison, it's 0.16. That's quite low, to be honest. Souček has higher goal threat than that. Saka does. Right, all these players that are cheaper. So 0.16 is low, and then his expected assists are 0.18. Compared to Grealish, which is 0.43. That doesn't sound a lot, but that is massive. So for me, over the season so far, Maddison hasn't been great. Don't get me wrong, he hasn't played a huge amount of minutes, and obviously we know he's had some injuries, but he's played quite a bit since, like, I think it was like game week 5, 6 or 7, something like that. So he has played quite a bit, even though he's had some injuries, and obviously we know that he's been rested at times because of that in kind of other competitions as well. But the numbers just aren't stacking up, and he always feels like a player that doesn't shoot very often in the box. Now, I say that after a game where he's played Chelsea and he's scored in the box, and also he said after the game he wants to get into the box late a bit more like Frank Lampard used to do. So I'm fully aware of that, but the numbers aren't matching that right now. He scored 3 goals in the last 3 weeks from just 3 shots in the box, right? You can't keep putting away long-range shots, not consistently. So Maddison is just not an option. I think Barnes is cheaper. His expected goals are 0.29. That's pretty decent. His expected assists are almost like non-existent. But if you're going to go for someone who assists more or scores more, and when Barnes is cheaper as well, I think Barnes is the one for me if I was going for a cheap spot. I don't know if I'm going to have a spot. It's going to depend on kind of formation of future transfers. But that Leeds fixture in particular I really like, and the Fulham one as well. With James Justin, he's hugely frustrating for a non-owner because a lot of us didn't jump on early because we thought Ricardo was going to be back. Then his price went up. Then we weren't sure about bringing in Leicester defenders. And ultimately, Leicester are a good defence, right? I've been saying that since the start of the season. Last year, the defensive stats were really good. They've kind of carried that on into this season. The only thing with Justin is I don't think he's attacking as he necessarily looks. Again, a lot of the time I'm basing this on numbers, right? If you look at the eye test, then yeah, Justin does get forward. He provides quite a few chances, but his expected assists are 0.09. Now, for a defender, that's not bad, but you're looking at maybe 1 assist every, 9, 10 games, something like that. So 4 or 5 assists over the season? It's not massive for a defender, and his goal threat is kind of non-existent, really. There's plenty of defenders with better attacking stats than that, who also maybe have got as good a chance for a clean sheet as well. So it's hard to find a place for him, but I have to monitor him because Ricardo is back now, and he came on the pitch as a right winger. Now, a lot of people are saying maybe he plays there, Justin keeps his place. I think that was probably a little bit because Pulisic and Werner were both on the pitch playing from that left side. But we have seen Ricardo play further forward before. So it might be something that Brendan Rodgers does. Even if Ricardo goes to right back, Justin could play left back and Castagna could miss out. But again, it's hard to leave him out. Basically, Leicester have got too many good players and their recruitment is just too good, right? So I have to monitor him. I think it's too risky to go this week. I think Everton could score anyway. But I need to see Ricardo start and Castagna start preferably, and then see where Justin slots in. If Ricardo starts right back and Justin starts left back, then happy days. So I definitely might. I'm not against paying $5 million for him just because he started at 4.5. Like sometimes people do that. Well, I'm not paying that for him because he was cheaper before. I don't want to get into that. I think if a player's worth the money, you should look at bringing them in. And I don't think as it stands right now, I'd be looking at paying any more for a Leicester defender. So potentially if he keeps his place, and there does look to me to be a few clean sheets on there and potential for attacking returns, although I don't think it's as high as people make out, I will monitor him. Harvey Barnes as well, just because I prefer him to Maddison. But ultimately, I'd probably just get Jack Grealish instead. So James and Chilwell last up. Now, probably jumping on Chelsea defenders now is probably not what a lot of people would be thinking about doing, because they've just lost again. So they've lost to Arsenal, they've lost to Leicester, they haven't performed well in between either. And obviously Zuma coming out, there's a little bit of disruption now in the back line. Kante's been missing, hopefully he'll come back soon. There's a lot of chopping and changing, right? And I think even when you chop and change your forward line, like sometimes attack is the best form of defence. If you're attacking a team, I've said this before, you're obviously not letting them attack you. And there's just so many changes everywhere. I'm not sure Frank Lampard knows what his best 11 is. And even if he does, I'm not sure he's confident in them performing. Like, you could go and say, well, if these were all completely on form, if Werner was banging them in, etc., this is my first 11. But that's just not happening right now. And obviously Zuma is a little bit of a worry. I would not go near him now. Obviously, if you own him, you could potentially keep him one more week, but not for me. But that still is not deterring me from looking at Chelsea defenders, because the fixtures are so good. Wolves at home, Burnley at home, Sheffield United away in the next 4. They are decent fixtures, right? And I could see clean sheets in possibly at least 2 of them. I think Wolves is an interesting one because they're just... It's a good time to play Wolves, but they're still a team full of really good players. So you always think they could give anyone a game, but they are not performing well themselves right now. So that could be a game to bounce back for Chelsea. If not, Burnley and Sheffield United away should be 2 clean sheets if they play as good as they can. Their defensive numbers for the season are still good. They're not quite as good for the last few weeks, but again, they've played Arsenal, who played really well. They've played Leicester, who are a really good team anyway, and also played really well. So I don't want to read too much into that. They're not playing Leicester and Arsenal in the next 4. They're playing Wolves, Burnley and Sheffield United. Yes, I'm kind of ignoring the Spurs game because obviously that's not ideal, but when you've got 3 out of 4 good fixtures, then that's probably okay. Now, Chilwell is probably the most reliable right now because he seems to be injury-free, starting most games, but he is 6.1. Reece James has started now. He's 5.1. That's so cheap. And I think he's not going to be rotated. We know now he's first choice from what we've seen for the rest of the season. He didn't cover himself in glory against Leicester, but again, it's a difficult team. There's clean sheets to come, attacking potential for him as well. And for 5.1, I've got my eye on him. Now, in my team, I have Wan-Bissaka, who's got Sheffield United at home. And I think the fixtures for Man United are quite good, but they're probably better from an attacking point of view. And also Wan-Bissaka, right? I'm not just biased towards other defenders. Wan-Bissaka does not have good attacking potential, right? If I get anything from him against Sheffield United, I'll consider that a bonus from an attacking point of view. So to change him to Reece James seems like quite a nice option. And Chelsea's fixtures are good all the way up until 26. The only slight concern, it's not massive, is their double game week is almost certainly going to be difficult, to the point where if I was free hitting, I probably wouldn't go for any Chelsea players. We'll see what happens, but right now that's how it's looking. So these 2 are definitely on my watch list. Yes, Chelsea are having some difficulties, but they're still a good side. They've still got good fixtures. And Reece James in particular is so cheap, I can't write him off just yet. There you go. That's my current watch list from game weeks 20 to 23. I think sometimes it's good to have transfers in mind, but obviously things do change quickly in FPL. But more importantly, it's probably good to have an idea of which players you're at least monitoring and seeing how they're going to go over the next few weeks, and then maybe to bring them in. There's fixture swings coming up. Like I said, Spurs in game week 23 looks good. Even though they got Man City the game week after, the fixtures after that are decent and they will have a double game week. So let me know in the comments below who is on your watch list, and obviously give the video a like and hit subscribe if you've enjoyed it. More content to come this week and obviously next week as we roll into game week 20. So team selection, game week preview and captaincy will all be next week as normal. And lastly, if you want to support me and the channel a little bit further as well, we do have Patreon, patreon.com/letstalkfpl. Link in the description below if you want to check that out. Loads of perks and benefits over there. Slack access, great community over there, always chatting FPL during games, before games, after games, etc. WhatsApp access depending on what tier you sign up to, early team reveals and all that good stuff. So link in the description below. Everyone that signs up goes up on the Legends wall, so fully appreciate everyone that has already signed up to become a member. And a big shout out to Joseph C, who has signed up since the last video as well. So hopefully everyone over there is enjoying their benefits. There'll be a Q&A and stuff before the next game week as well over there. So thank you very much for watching this one. Hit the like button if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new around here. And I'll catch you tomorrow for some more FPL.